Hey friends, I don't know about you, but this whole coronavirus situation is certainly one of the most challenging experiences, especially an extended experience of difficulty that I've had. And it has me thinking, and I had this thought a couple days ago, that there's a way that it reminds me of a difficult or a bad trip on psychedelics. I have had a couple of experiences using LSD that turned into really challenging experiences, and there's a way that inside that experience there's a feeling of, oh my gosh, I feel like this is never going to end. And there's something about the coronavirus experience that has that same, this is totally different from anything else I've experienced before, and it has the feeling of uncertainty around if and when it will end. Obviously, intellectually, I know that it'll end at some point, um, but there's a lot of uncertainty around it. And it's also new that I don't feel like I have my traditional coping mechanisms and skills online for dealing with it, especially because some of my traditional coping mechanisms aren't available, right? Spending time with friends. Physical touch is something that I find really restorative, and that's mostly not available. So that it has this sort of similar tone to it, although obviously a pandemic and a psychedelic are each is its own experience. But coming to the realization that there are some similarities in my experience made me think about a training that I went to last summer with an organization called the Zendo Project, which is focused on psychedelic harm reduction. And in particular, they train people to be psychedelic guides. They train people to help other people through difficult psychedelic experiences. So that, sort of with the theory that difficult experiences, challenging experiences, are meaningful opportunities for growth, which is an attitude and approach that I have long felt and experienced for myself. So, with that in mind, I thought I would go back to the four principles of psychedelic harm reduction that I learned in the Zendo Project and share them with you because I think that they apply to this experience as well. So, in the context of the Zendo training, these principles are sort of the framework for someone who's acting as a guide, helping others through a difficult psychedelic experience. And I think that in the case of the coronavirus experience, you can think about yourself both as the guide and the guest, both the person who is helping and the person who's being helped. Sometimes you're playing both parts with yourself, and sometimes you might be playing one part with another person. You might be able to sort of serve as someone's guide. So, there are four principles. The first is create a safe space. This one makes sense, and I hope that everyone listening to this has a safe space. What can you do to make your space more welcoming, more inviting, more appropriate to the experience that you're having right now? I'm finding that I really want extra softness and coziness, and so I've pulled out all of my fuzzy blankets and I'm making my bed as much of a cozy nest as possible. I'm enjoying curling up with fuzzy blankets. So softness for me. Maybe it's something else for you, but what will make you feel like your space is safe and cozy and as comfortable and appropriate for the experience that you're having as possible? The next principle is sitting, not guiding. That is to say, to be a calm presence, to be accepting, to be non judgmental, and not to have an end in mind. When you are serving as a psychedelic companion for someone, it can be easy to have a sense of like the destination that you think that they should end up in. And I think it might be possible to similarly feel like, well, here's my intended destination for this coronavirus experience, but having a more open view of what's the opportunity, what's happening. Let me really be present for what's real. There might be moments when I'm giddy and joyful. There might be moments when I'm anxious and fearful. How can I make space for that whole range of experiences without making any of them wrong because they don't fit some idea that I might have about how it should be? The third principle is talking through, not down. This is in particular referring to the thing that sometimes people talk about, talking someone down out of a difficult experience. This coronavirus situation is going to last as long as it lasts. We are all doing what we can to minimize the length of time that it's happening. But it's a long-term project. And so how can we get through this rather than really drive to coming to a conclusion prematurely? And then the final, and this honestly is I think my favorite of the principles, is difficult is not the same as bad. This is something that I no doubt will talk more about in other blog posts and videos in the future, because I fundamentally believe that this is one of the most important things to understand in life, is that difficult experiences, unwanted experiences, they're challenging, but they're also opportunities for growth. And if you can maintain that orientation of recognizing it might be too much for me to get something out of it right now, but there will be important learnings, there will be important lessons, there will be important opportunities to level up through the difficulties that I experience. And that can help. It doesn't make the difficult experience less weighty, less challenging, but it can help to buoy it and help it feel more useful going forward, so that at least you have a sense of there's value to the challenge and the difficulty that I am experiencing. I'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections in response to this. Does any of this ring true? How's your coronavirus experience going? I'd love to hear.